You're listening to the Super League Pod, coming up on episode 165 of your favourite Rugby League podcast. We've got a World Cup special edition with news from around the world of Rugby League, a look back over the first two rounds of group fixtures in the Rugby League World Cup in Australia, and we've got ourselves a bit of a quiz. Strap yourselves in, kids. It's time for your favourite Rugby League podcast, the Super League Pod. Okay, hello everyone, welcome along to this first World Cup special edition, episode 165 of the Super League Pod. We've been off for a couple of weeks since our season-ending review show, but now that we're deep into the World Cup, Mark and Tom are back here once again to cast our eye over the world of Rugby League. Mark, how's it going?
Alright, yeah, I'm just trying to think, what on earth have I been up to since we last had a show?
I don't think I've done anything. I've done the odd thing, but nothing groundbreaking.
Emma went away to Berlin with uni.
Oh, wow.
So...
There's a lot of wanking done in this house then.
Well, not really.
No?
Not a lot.
Just the first day.
Not a lot.
It's nice to do it on the sofa. So has that been about it? The most eventful thing that's happened to you is that something good has happened to Emma?
Yeah, really.
That's true.
Probably.
How long was she away for?
She was away for a week, and then, 5 days, and then she was back.
Fair play.
And then, yeah. That honestly,
that's it. You've just been working.
How about you?
It's just been standard kind of steady away family stuff for me, really. We, I think, last weekend was a more eventful one. We had Halloween in between the last show and this, so Erin enjoyed Halloween very much.
I had very much a lights at the back of the house only on policy.
Did you really?
Until about 7:30 when I thought...
Pretty safe now.
Yeah.
Fair play. So we've had Halloween. Erin enjoyed that very, very much, but I didn't get dressed up. And then this weekend been bonfire night and stuff like that. So we did fireworks in the gardens with the kids, went to a trampoline park, just family stuff. It's been lovely. And of course, getting involved with the World Cup and following that as closely as I possibly could do, which in my situation has meant England games and spot highlights on YouTube. But it's been enjoyable to do.
Yeah, I suppose that's dominated a lot. Early weekend starts with the 3 back-to-back games, Saturday and Sunday games each week. Yeah.
But that's been it. So the format for this show, since we're both quite boring over the last fortnight...
I was going to say, are you going to let us know what's coming up? Because you've put the rundown together this week, so you know.
It's that glorious time of the year where I get given the reins of the Super League Pod and anything could happen. It's going to be pretty much a standard format to the show. We've forgone the feedback and shout-outs just because a fortnight's worth old feedback and shout-outs kind of isn't completely current anymore, and the majority of it was people saying how much they got in touch with, how much they enjoyed the season review shows and things like that, and thanking us for the awards that they got, and it was wonderful. So we won't go through the lot of them, but safe to say we're very, very grateful for everyone that got in touch and voted and participated throughout the season, and we hope that you enjoy this kind of close season set of shows that we do and come back strong next year with us as well for the 5th series. But and you wanted to make a particular point of mentioning one person, didn't you?
Yes. So after the end of season show, Dom Hodgson got in touch with us with a little present that I'd arranged, which was basically he's took over the superleaguepod.com domain name, which I guess no one had because we certainly didn't have it.
Yeah.
It's just there as a quicker way into our blog, basically.
Yeah.
But if you now put in superleaguepod.com into your browser, it'll take you straight into our blog.
Which is fantastically easier than us saying superleaguepod@blogspot.com.
Exactly.
And it makes it far easier.
Falling over it.
Precisely.
Like we often did. So, obviously we're really grateful for Dom for sorting that out.
Really
that's something that we wouldn't have had the gumption to sort out ourselves.
All the technical wherewithal, really, I suppose.
Yes, we don't know how to make a show.
No.
Yet we managed to do it. We are way behind the times in lots of things like that. But Dom is not, and we're really grateful. And to celebrate that, and us announcing that exists now, I've written a blog.
Fantastic. What's it about?
It's literally only just been published about an hour before we started recording. It's about stats.
A departure for you, but still.
Basically,
Stats about what? Rugby?
Pretty easy kind of put together thing just from the stuff I've been keeping over the last few years.
Okay.
Which I was organising during my Emma free time, where I had to fill my time with something to not get bored and lonely. So I was organising some spreadsheet stuff.
We discussed that.
No, I was organising spreadsheet stuff, and what I ended up with was putting together something about basically what stats have led to teams winning the most. So winning what stat? So obviously the team that scores the most tries in a game is more likely to win the game. Like 86% of the time in the 4 years of this show, the team that's scored more tries has won the game. So it's that, but there's a few in there that are a little bit more interesting. I won't spoil too much, but I would say offloads and penalties are interesting stats to see how influential they are on the outcome of a match, for example.
And if people want to see and read this blog and others, how do they get to it?
SuperLeaguePod.com.
Fantastic, Sam. That's wonderful. Thank you, Dom. That's a really, really lovely gift. So we've covered off the feedback and shout-outs, but the format of the show after that is going to remain pretty much the same. We're going to look at some news from around the world of Rugby League. We're going to take a look back at the first 2 weeks of the World Cup, so loads to sink our teeth into there, no pun intended. Then we've got some previews and predictions. We'll be talking about the upcoming couple of rounds, because we've got the final round of group and pool fixtures coming up this weekend, and then we're going to look at the likely permutations and quarter-final lineups as well, ahead of, in a couple of weeks' time, coming back and reviewing those sets of games. And Mark, I've even prepared a quiz.
I just mentioned to you that the idea of one of our old faves from the show, Dave Benson Phillips, and Get Your Own Back, struck me as a possibility. So I'll see how I get on here. Well, I fear for my credibility.
No, not at all. I think. Look, I mean, it's not inextensive. There's quite a bit to it, so it'll be entertaining for the listeners as much as anything else. But it's all based around the World Cup in some way or another. So there's plenty of rugby league stuff in there as well.
I don't know what the first year of the.
It's not that lineal, mate. There's stuff to do.
It's
not like Cranium around, but you'll have to use your noggin. Okay, so with that all covered off and the feedback and shout outs and the intros taken care of, let's take a look now at news from around the world of rugby league. Okay, so to news this week from around the world of rugby league then, and we'll start down under, where England winger Jermaine McGilvray is facing a ban after being charged for allegedly biting Lebanon captain Robbie Farah during last Saturday's game. The Huddersfield player will face a disciplinary hearing on Wednesday for a charge of contrary conduct. A match review panel brought the charge after reviewing the incident on Monday. Farah raised the complaint 2 minutes into the second half of England's 29-10 win over the Cedars after the pair clashed at a ruck. Referee Ben Thaler then put McGilvray on report for the panel to discuss the incident. So, we've got about 24 hours before judgment comes down. What do you reckon?
Well, I was just wondering, is today tomorrow, the hearing, which will
be today by the time our Aussie friends are listening, well, it's about 20 to 9 in the morning over there now, isn't it?
First of all, someone needed to do something to Robbie Farah's face during that first half to shut his whinging gob up. He was doing my nutting.
He's doing what he's meant to do. But
he was doing my nutting. Yeah. I tell you, it was unbelievable. But, imagine if we'd been that pissy and moany during the Australia game as he was during that game.
Oh,
it was absolutely pathetic. But, having said that, no one should get bitten.
No. Do you think he bit him?
Well, this is the thing.
Did he bite or was he... a bit of arm?
I think the trail end of that video footage is not good for Jerry McGilvray.
No.
Okay? I think for the entire process, an absolute piece of shit who deserved to have his fucking face rearranged had his arm in the mouth of Jerry McGilvray by swinging it around, smacking around the gob, being an absolute dickhead that he was being in that game. But, right at the end... After he'd had one more sort of ramming it up inside his gob, it does look a bit like Jerry starts to bite down to me.
But And I was reading about Chris Thorman, and you might have seen this online as well, from a few years ago. He got done for biting in a very similar situation and was given no case to answer because they took a doctor along who basically said, look, from a medical standpoint, with what was going on in Chris's face, he had no choice but to bite down. It was a reaction. He couldn't.
Yeah.
It's just not not a mechanical reaction. What do you call it?
Because it had gone so far in that.
It's like the body takes over and does it. So it could be the body's natural defence mechanisms. I don't think that.
Well, if you've got that, the further back you sort of push into the mouth, the more it will sort of contract.
Yeah.
But I don't know that. I mean, there was the biting allegation in round 1 as well, wasn't it, for one of the PNG players?
Yeah.
From one of it was the PNG Wales game, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
And nothing came of that.
No.
However, I do think the tail end of that footage was a little bit bad for McGilvery.
Yeah.
And the sad thing is, they're not going to retrospectively ban someone for smacking his arm in someone's face repeatedly during the process of making and completing a tackle, which is unfortunate.
Yes.
Because, you know, I don't know. Do you know what? I'm so full of rage at how Robbie Farah annoyed me so much. And I don't hate Robbie Farah. I don't hate a lot of players. But this guy has pushed him into a place of where I just can't stand the bloke now.
Yeah. So Alex Walmsley out on the wing then against France.
We'll probably talk about the squad much later on.
Yeah.
But I think he's going to cop a ban.
Yeah, I do too. Okay, so what's next?
Someone who's not going to be playing, but not for on-field issues.
Yeah.
We've got some of these stories, haven't we, from this World Cup so far? But Captain Danny Brough is one of 3 players released from Scotland's Rugby League World Cup squad after being deemed too drunk to board a fly.
Quality, that is great work.
That is stag-do level stuff.
That's awesome, because they're never going to win the World Cup, so why not?
Brough remained in Christchurch with Sam Brooks and Johnny Walker while the squad flew to Cairns for next week's final group game with some. I thought it was. Is it Cairns? I thought it was.
No, they flew to Cairns from New Zealand.
To go to Townsville.
But he left them.
But I thought they were playing at Townsville.
I don't know.
Doesn't matter. Scotland Rugby League chairman Keith Hogg said these players have not adhered to the standards of behaviour. They will leave early a tournament it is a privilege to be involved in.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just stupidity as well. And it just smacks of a massive disrespect for the country that you... I mean, fuck Sam Brooks and Johnny Walker. They're neither in nor there. For me, the big one on this is Danny Brough. And it just goes to the core of the attitude of the man, for me, that he can have represented his country at the last 3 World Cups and treat so casually the captaincy and his professionalism to behave this way. I think he's ridiculous. And I tell you what, it does Scottish Rugby League. You think back to a year ago when we were up in the lakes and Scotland were on the verge of beating New Zealand in a test match, and how positively we all felt about Scottish Rugby League and the potential that it had to kick on. Fast forward a year to absolute mullerins in the World Cup and Danny Brough behaving a bit Danny Brough-ish.
Well, but Danny Brough has been a rent-a-gob that Robbie Farah would model his game.
But he's not a rent-a-gob though. This isn't about being a rent-a-gob.
No, but on the field. But his off-the-field stuff has never really raised too many eyebrows like this. Not for some time.
No, true.
Certainly.
But the decision...
You know, he doesn't have ridiculous haircuts anymore.
He's a man in his 30s who captains his side at a World Cup.
What I would say is I don't know what the range of being too drunk was. I don't know how that has been enforced here. I mean, they probably could have waited till he got off the fly and then got levered, I'm sure.
I think it was the night before.
Well, this is the thing.
After the game.
If that's the case, is it really the biggest wrongdoing that's ever been done? Is it not some... I have scepticism over this isn't a little bit like someone wanted to make a news story for themselves at an airport. Because there's no suggestion that they were... I don't know.
There's no suggestion that they were behaving poorly.
Anything that suggests anything other than they were a bit too pissed to be let on the plane because they thought they were a bit too drunk.
Here's how I know how pissed they were. Do you remember Steve Stagdo?
Yeah.
I got on the plane.
Yes, but that's the thing. We don't know what the standards are.
Right. But if there's a fairly
you were basically asleep at that point.
If there's a universal...
You were past... No. Yes, you were incomprehensible, but we could have just claimed you'd taken a sedative because you're scared of flying. Because you were basically asleep.
It's very true. I enjoyed sleeping that
One
day.
of us rocked up to the gate with their child's passport.
And that wasn't the pissed guy. There you go. Okay, so Danny Brough and Sam Brooks and Johnny Walker, idiots. Okay, former Great Britain hooker.
Sorry, just to drop back before we move on.